radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular show.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Print on Demand Cast. As always, I'm Josiah, and as always, joining me is Travis Ross. Travis, how's things going, man? As we record, it is Monday, so tell me, how was your weekend going? Is it the calm before the storm? Because for us here at S&S Apparel, things are starting to get a little nuts. And it's like this, what is the second? Is it the third week of November? I don't know what time it is anymore. It's all relative to me, but it's getting crazy. How about for you guys?
It's getting a little nuts. I was looking at all of our channels, and ShipStation kind of houses all of our data for what we actually ship out, and just looking at that, just what we're actually shipping out is like up 35% over last year.
Wow.
And that's on our end. We also have one of our biggest clients actually uses ShipStation and sends us all of his own labels, and they're up 30 to 40% too. And so all of that said and done, it really makes for a crazy time of year. It's great. I did actually put a Facebook post up last week or late last week and said, hey, if you want to work for a day or two and you're in the Broomfield area,
like, hey,
come
help.
on in. Yeah. And to my surprise, like all these people answered, because I can't hire like a permanent staff member to save my life. As a matter of fact, if you listen to last week's episode, we also recorded that on a Monday, and Tuesday our new DTG person was starting. Well, that didn't happen. They emailed probably around the same time we were actually recording and said that they had gotten another job and it paid way better and they would be crazy to not take that position. And so sorry, too bad for you. So we still don't have that DTG person. We did actually interview another person, and we have another person that's supposed to be starting in a little bit, but they had to put 2 weeks in. And so I'm really, 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 like, you remember last week I said, I've got a good feeling about this one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be fooled
wrong
anymore. Yeah.
Can't trust your intuition, I suppose, is what you're trying
Apparently
to say.
not.
In a roundabout way.
Not.
Yeah. No, it's I was actually pretty surprised how busy it's gotten. I don't know why. I guess every year, it's going to get busy, but then the immediacy or how soon it starts to get busy is like shocking, almost like you're caught off guard. Like you think you have until December, and you just kind of forget about, the preamble to actual like December. So we actually sent out email to all of our clients, to all of our partners saying, hey, this is our 5th Q4, and here's what we've learned to expect. Really in an attempt to manage expectations on their end, as far as like, hey, if your customers want something guaranteed by Christmas, they need to order by this day. And here's how USPS is probably going to be delayed. UPS probably going to experience some delays. This is what we've experienced. Here's how you can mitigate that. Here's how we'll help with that, so on and so forth. So I'm trying to get out ahead of it a little bit. I mean, especially last year,
That's
USPS was a disaster.
Oh, I know.
For so many people, and I don't see a government agency being any better this year for some reason. I don't know why I have that inclination, but something inside of me says it's not going to be much better. So, we're trying to kind of do, for lack of a better term, damage control before damage is done. It's always easier to manage expectations on the front end as opposed to trying to do so on the back end, because when you do it on the back end, it involves some groveling and eating crow at some point inevitably. So yeah, man, we're busy, and I just tried to kind of upload a small video, but it didn't work for whatever reason. But you told me about this for the listener. You told me about your DTG guy not working out at William Oliver's, which is an awesome whiskey bar that you and I frequented was it Thursday? I think it was last Thursday.
Yeah.
whiskey flights, and what they say, like $3,000 to $5,000 of whiskey on the wall at any given time.
Yeah. Had to have been
Has
more, I think. It
yeah,
was crazy.
has nothing to do with print on demand, but it was a great time. It was
It was.
fantastic. I had a good time and great food as well. So, um, lots of exciting things happening, man. Getting into the thick of Q4. So, let's talk about the Apple Pod. We have a new review. I'm literally reading the notes verbatim, professionalism, folks. As I literally am just looking at our show notes and reading them out loud. Learn from me. Do as I say, not as I do. But anyway, we have a new review that we want to kind of shout out. Someone left a review on Apple Podcasts, asked, listen to what we ask every week, and that's to leave a review. So we're going to go ahead and share the screen here and show you guys the review that we're talking about, coming from our friend Tim Helm. Tim, thank you so much for sharing this review. It says, helpful and encouraging, 5 stars. Of course, thank you, Tim. I feel that the guys do a great job covering many different aspects of print on demand. I have listened to all the episodes to date. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, you get a medal.
That is really cool. You've listened to hours of Travis and I rambling and very informative interviews by professionals. So that's awesome. Anyway, continuing on, listening gave me the confidence to get started in my own POD journey. If you wait until you have it all figured out, and it cuts off there. So
yeah, you cut it off there. I think.
Did I?
I think he said it. Yeah, I think he said if you wait until you have it all figured out, you'll never start.
Yeah,
that makes a lot more sense, right?
I'm doubling down on the professionalism, Tim. I apologize for what I've done to your review. And listen, everyone that leaves a review, we always say reach out and we'll get you a free POD Cash shirt of your choice. And since you listen to every episode, Tim, I know you're hearing this. So go to printondemandcast.com/Facebook and let us know. Email us info@printondemandcast.com. Let us know what shirt you want and we'll give it to you for free. No one else has taken us up on that offer. I don't really know why, but you'd be the first to take us up on that particular offer. So reach out to us and we'd be happy to oblige. But again, Tim, thank you so much. Travis, how does that, to me, it's always kind of surprising that people do take the time. It's kind of like, appointment podcast content for folks that listen to our show each and every week. And I always find that to be super humbling. That people would take the time out of the day. What say you in regards to hearing, that Tim has listened to it's like 65 episodes, every episode to date.
Yeah, it does mean a lot. I think, that's awesome that he's listened to us, but I think the cooler thing, at least in my mind, is that whole, like him actually listening to us got him kind of off the couch, if you will, and now he's in the game, which is so freaking cool. And good job, Tim. And if you're still on the couch, so to speak, or sitting, in the bleachers, get on the field, like Tim did. And I do feel like, we try to give enough information that people can take it and at least, list something somewhere. Last week's episode was all of that, it was like, how do you do it? It does mean a lot, and appreciate you, Tim. Appreciate everybody who's listening and continues to listen to us ramble.
Yes,
each and every week.
Exactly. Thank you guys so much. And like Travis said, and like Tim said, if you wait to get started, you never will. And the reward, the prize, is much like EA Sports would say, in the game. So go get in the game and join the adventure that is the print on demand industry. So thanks again, Tim. And with that, we will transition to the favorite segment of all time, the weekly dad joke. So Travis, I have 2 Shih Tzus, right?
Watch your mouth.
Some people talk smack and say that they're not real dogs. And to you, I say, to quote my friend Travis, shut your mouth. They're like my children because I don't have actual children yet. So anyway, I have 2 Shih Tzus and I took them out to play. And, the other day I threw a ball for my dog. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to tell you, he looks great in a tuck. And that's this week's weekly dad joke. You know that you'll use it around
Mm.
the water cooler at work tomorrow, and you'll throw it out at the party of your choice, maybe perhaps an actual ball. Let us know how it goes. We look forward to hearing.
And take a picture because we want to see your dog in a tux.
Yeah, actually, that's true. I do want to see your dad. That's I don't care what breed of dog it is.
Yes.
It's adorable to have a
Yeah.
dog in a tux. So post it in the group. Printondemandcast.com. My entertainment standards have lowered significantly since quarantine last year. Just whatever makes me happy is what I'll watch. All right, so moving into the next segment, which is a segment commonly referred to as the point of interest. So, Travis, last week we recorded a separate point of interest, and then you the next day sent me a picture of something, and you were like, "How was this not our point of interest yesterday?" So it's
Right.
been on the shelf. We refrigerated that thing so it wouldn't go bad. We're whipping it out now, and we're having them leftovers of point of interest pie. So, Travis, tell us, what is it that you found out last week that was of interest to you and would be of interest to those that listen to this podcast?
So I don't know how I missed it, but I actually received an email like a week before we recorded, or the previous week. We recorded our last Monday, and then the previous week I received an email, actually two emails, one from the CEO of S&S Activewear and one from the CEO of TSC Apparel. And I have it right here. TSC one said, "We're excited to announce that S&S Activewear has signed a definitive agreement to acquire a leading distributor of imprintable apparel and accessories, TSC Apparel."
Wow.
Which is nuts. Because, I mean, if maybe you don't know all of the ins and outs of the different kind of apparel players, if you will, but you've got S&S Activewear, Sanmar, Alpha Broder, and TSC. I mean, there are a few more, and if you
They're
have
kinda
somebody
like,
that you like,
yeah,
if you have somebody else that you like, please let us know, because we're always looking for new appliers. But those are kind of the big four, if you will. And so, I mean, it would kind of be like, I don't know if this is as big of a deal, like if Amazon acquired like Sears or something, like another, well, or something like that, or Dillard's. I don't know.
Yeah.
You get the idea, or Albertsons acquired Kroger or something like that.
It would be like if, I don't know. I just got done watching The Sopranos, so it is, it is what it is. I've been watching a lot of mob related issues, but it's like there's four families, and if the Corleones absorbed their rival family and they became a bigger mafia syndicate for everybody to enjoy the benefits of the fruits of their labors. So, bad impression aside, it's really big news to hear that those two companies, or the S&S, has kind of absorbed or acquired TSC. So the question to me, and I have a vested interest, as do you, Travis, because TSC, one of their warehouses, is actually in Denver, right? And so for us local to Colorado, that means that if it's in stock in Denver and I place an order for something by 5:30 Mountain Standard Time, I will have it the next day. So forecasting out, stock and inventory levels, or if there's a pinch and we need to get something, the odds are I can probably have it next day. So what I'm hoping doesn't happen is that they just kind of get rid of the existing warehouses. I actually have some images here. So this one right here is actually, this is S&S's locations right now. S&S Activewear, the locations that they have up. So you can see here. I'm trying to pull up a larger version of it, or maybe we'll just go here.
We actually order a lot from S&S, and Olathe, Kansas, which is just outside of Kansas City, Kansas. It's pretty close to us here in the Denver area, and usually we can get that in a day, but sometimes it's 2 days. Kind of just depends. But I mean, we have used S&S Activewear, but it is going to be sad if they close all of those TSC warehouses.
Right.
I don't think they'll close them all, but
there might be
close some. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is what TSC has right now, and so you can see, if they were to just kind of merge, they would have incredible coverage. But you do
Yeah.
like the ones like in Denver and the one like you said in Olathe, do
Mhm.
ones so close together make
Yeah.
sense. You
They
know what
have
I
a
mean?
Dallas and a Houston. They have
Yeah,
a Moreno Valley, and then what's the S&S one? I forget, but I mean, it's another
right,
California one.
right.
Yeah, so there's definitely some crossover there that they may want to, unfortunately, kind of clean up.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
is frankly, it's in my opinion, it's bad news for us. The other big question I think is what about TSC's kind of uh, in-house brand,
The private label, for lack
Toltecs.
of a better
Yeah,
term, right? Like
yeah.
Toltecs and M&O
Mhm.
and yeah,
Elo, but Elo already kind of got rid of that one.
yeah, they became Toltecs premium. So
Right.
all the Elo stuff, like those hoodies and like the French Terry hoodies, which are really nice, all became Toltecs premium 583. If anyone cares about part numbers, I don't know why I like to brag that I know all this information that is arbitrary to any other walk of life. But so yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens. I think at least in the screenshot that you shared with me, they specifically made a point to highlight the fact that they would be absorbing TSC or sorry,
Yeah.
Toltecs and M&O. So maybe that's kind of something they're
Mm.
going to want to keep because it's something that I highlighted. I would think that they wouldn't
Yeah.
bring attention to that if they were determined to kind of get rid of that line.
Right.
Uh, but Toltecs when we first started, we ordered a lot of Toltecs stuff.
Right.
Up until a month ago, we printed exclusively on Toltecs hoodies. And
Mhm.
so we found a brand that prints a little better in my opinion. So,
Which brand is
but
that?
so it's just hoods. It's
Oh, okay.
and it's carried by TSC. So hopefully S&S doesn't do away with those. It's
Mm.
JWD or sorry, AWD. All we do is hoods. And it's like JHA093 is the part number. But man, I'll tell you what,
Mm.
they're the most vibrant hoodies
Hmm.
that I've seen print.
That's cool.
Because Gildan, this might turn into an apparel rants little subsection here, but
Yeah.
the Gildan hoodies are awful, especially the
Yeah.
black hoodies are terrible to print on. Like there's
So are
not a
the
lot you can do.
district hoodies from Sanmar are the same thing. They're just
Okay.
not good. I remember we were printing on those, and then we had gotten some Toltecs. We were like, "Holy crap, these Toltecs hoodies are so much better."
Yeah.
Recently, the other hoodie we've been doing really well for, and yes, has definitely become an apparel rants segment, is the independent hoodie from S&S, which kind of brings us back full circle. I'm wondering if independent, which is kind of a private label S&S brand, kind of takes out Toltecs, so to speak. I just don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, with something that's this big as far as like a merger goes or a buyout, if you will, it's going to take a lot of time for all of
Right.
the dust to settle and all of the details to kind of be finalized as far as, I mean,
Sure.
they've put pen to
Sure.
paper, but it's just going to take time for that to filter down to the masses and actually affect us. Are they going to get rid of TSC's website at some point where they're going to give us a heck of a lot of warning before they do that? So
Yeah,
we're
that's what
probably
I was
talking
just
2022 before we know really where
yeah,
this is going to go.
yeah, and I was just gonna say, I think it would be terrible timing for them for them to do this in Q4 and just kind of like do away with everything,
Right.
Um, real quick, just as a side note to you, Travis, just to encourage you to try this particular brand, I'm gonna show you. This is the AWD. All we do is hoods. I was so off on the part number, but that's not what matters. But yeah, it's a fantastic hoodie. If anyone's out there looking for something that prints really well hoodie wise, these are the best that I have found to date. So
Nice.
give them a shot, and TSC has them, and the stock is aplenty. I just ordered enough hoodies to clothe probably a small army because some of our clients are moving them so incredibly fast. So anyway, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, and I'm sure that if something crucially detrimental happens with this merger, you will hear Travis and I talk about it because
Yep, for
if
sure.
if it affects lead times and inventory and stuff, yeah, we're going to talk about it. You already know that. So keep an ear to the ground and keep your ear tuned to the PODcast, and we'll let you know as things progress what that merger looks like. So I think that's it for this week's Point of Interest. So, Travis, we're going to talk about a subject. We've kind of touched on this marketing. Chris Grant was on. He's kind of a marketing guru. And actually, this whole topic was kind of inspired by something that you received from him before we pressed record, which kind of caused us to kind of pivot the focus of this episode entirely after receiving that. So, with that being said, we're going to go to this week's main event. Travis, we're going to talk about P. Not just one P. Not just one P, my friend, but five. 5 Ps.
5 Ps.
There are 5 Ps of marketing. And just a quick overview of all 5 before we dig into the specifics. There's product, there's price, there's promotion, there's place, and there's people. So
thank you for tuning in to the PODcast, and we'll see you next week. Maybe not so fast.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we can count to 5, and we have 5 Ps. And it's what we need you to do is go do your homework, find out about them, what they all mean, post it in the Facebook group, and then we'll indulge in the 5 Ps the next episode after you do all the work. That's what we're looking for you all to do. But seriously, let's go back to the top, Travis. Product. Why don't you kind of take us through, the first subsection or the first point?
Yeah.
Point 1A in the first P of marketing.
Yeah. So basically, you're going to this whole idea is probably I'm sure if you have a marketing background in any way, shape, or form, you went to school and had a marketing class, you probably talked about the 5 Ps, the whole marketing mix, the 5 Ps of marketing. And so when you're talking about product, one of the first things you're going to talk about is like, what is the functionality of the product? What's it going to actually do for your customer? And so each one of these segments in product are going to then inform the next one, and it's kind of like you could really do a spider web with all of these. So each one of these that we're going to share with you has kind of 5 subpoints, and you could literally, 1B could inform 4C, you know what I mean? And just crisscrossing and going back and forth, and all of these things really do play together. So the first thing you want to, do when you're talking about your product, what is the functionality? What is it going to do? I mean, for us, print on demand, I'm gonna either drink out of it or I'm gonna put it on. I mean, that's or I'm gonna hang it on a wall or something. I mean, there's a limited number of functionalities for a print on demand product. And so, but again, we're talking about just marketing in general, and so obviously the 5 Ps are gonna have a much broader scope than just print on demand. We're just going to try to nail it down for print on demand. But go ahead, Josiah. Why don't you share 1 or 2 more of the product sub points?
Yeah. So the next one would be appearance. Of course, the look of the product has a look, and this touches on something that we kind of harped on last week when we talked about the step-by-step process of making, an e-commerce store, and that's mock-ups, right? What is the appearance you're trying to give it to the customer? Is it you want a high-end look? What does that look like? It all kind of hinges on the mock-up and then letting them know that it's a high-quality garment. And you live and die on how your product comes across, whether that's in person, whether it's online. That's kind of the linchpin that is how people decide what it looks like, whether it's a shirt, a mug, a sign, a flask, whatever that looks like. You want to definitely put your best foot forward when you're presenting it and how it appears and how it looks to the end user.
That kind of goes right with another one of them, quality.
Yes.
What kind of quality is this? So mock-up is one thing. How does it appear when you're going to actually market it? How does it appear? But then actually when the customer gets it into their hand, that's not marketing. Because the word of mouth thing really does come into play.
They're gonna spread the word one way or the other, and you need to make sure in that same vein, kind of a way of almost managing expectations, but on your listing, you need to let the customer know exactly what it is they will be getting. Do not post something and sell the fact that it's high quality if you're in fact sending a Gildan 2000, and not letting them
Right.
know that, hey, you're going to get a 6-ounce shirt and it's going to be really heavy. And, you need to make sure that the description of the product matches what you're sending them, because then otherwise marketing is going to turn against you, and and the customers will let you know.
Yeah.
And I know for me, when I'm looking at a product, especially something that I've never purchased before, I'm trying to figure out what I want. I always go to reviews of the customers that have purchased it. So keep in mind that this isn't just like, well, if it looks a little different than what they end up getting, it's not going to be a big deal. No, everyone has the ability to voice their opinion. We have a podcast. Okay. Everyone has the ability to put their insight or whatever they feel out there. So remember, it's crucial, right? And part of that appearance too, quality, would also be packaging, right? How do you want it to look? Are you good with just sending it in a nondescript poly bag? Are you wanting custom branded packaging? I know, for me, when I order anything that's glassware, the packaging is super. If it comes really well packed and really well protected, it's always impressive to me. So what do you want that to be? And there's going to be costs associated with that, of course. The more involved you get. But packaging definitely also rolls into the presentation, the appearance, and the perceived quality of the item that you're getting. I think if you were to receive something from a client or from someone that you follow, and you got it in the poly bag, had their logo, and it was branded as opposed to just a plain poly bag, that's perceived value. And it ups the quality of the product in the customer's mind because of the presentation that you've paired it with.
Sure.
Which I think is huge as well. So Travis, there's one more sub point. And then of course, if you have any other thoughts on quality or packaging, you can of course add those as well. But there's one more.
Yeah. I'll get to that one more. I mean, I have a friend who did a lot of private label products, and I remember one time he was talking about how he took a very simple product, and all he did was his packaging. He basically just did a black matte box, and then when you opened it, there was some white lettering on the inside of the top box, and it looked so sharp. And then he had like, for whatever the product was, he had like a cutout of the black foam cutout, so it laid in there really nice, and then the white lettering and all of that. I think maybe it was silver lettering or gold lettering or something like that. So when they opened it up, it was like, oh my gosh, this is really worth a lot. But his packaging only cost him like an extra $1.50 than what he was doing prior, and he was able to like raise his price like 15-20 bucks because all of a sudden now it's a luxury product just because of the packaging. So don't sleep on that packaging. Obviously there are different viewpoints on or not necessarily, well, there are different viewpoints, but there are also different strategies. If you're just trying to get a bunch of stuff out the door, there ain't nothing wrong with a poly bag, or
some platforms
box.
don't even necessarily call for that. Like if it's Amazon, or Walmart or something like that, having a nondescript package. But that the place that I think that one platform to me that presents the opportunity for that kind of custom branding is like an Etsy shop, right? To go with the on brand look of the shop or the aesthetic and providing that. And one of our
or
clients,
your own store.
Yeah, or your own store, like a Shopify. Like we have a client, we send all of his stuff in regular poly bags, but he has a lot of well-known, celebrity friends of his, UFC fighters, whoever. So in those instances, I created a box for him, a black box with his logo on top, and you open it, and there's a flag with his logo in the corner, and then writing that says, thank you for your friendship. It's like a VIP box, basically. So whenever he wants to make a better impression on someone that he knows has the ability to hop on their Instagram and blast this stuff out, that's what the branded box are reserved for. And it does definitely up the perception of the product. You know what I mean? So anyway, go ahead, Travis.
Oh, and then the last one is just warranty. And this is, specifically for the product. A lot of people will use warranty. Again, I don't know how it translates into print on demand, but people can use warranty to collect emails. So, I mean, there's that. You can use it to then remarket to these people who have bought your product. And it also shows that you have confidence that people are going to get good use out of, and out of your product, and they're going to actually be able to use it for a long time, because you're saying, you're putting your money where your mouth is, in with a warranty. So those are the 5 product things. So you got functionality, appearance, warranty, quality, and packaging. And we could probably throw a link to this little chart that we're using.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
In the show notes. It's pretty helpful, I think, so you don't have to necessarily take notes or crash your car if you're, driving, when you're trying to like put the notes on your phone or something. The second P of marketing is going to be price. So once you've decided on your product, you know what it is, you know the functionality, you decided we're going to go really high quality, it's going to be beautiful mock-ups, and we're going to use excellent packaging. Well, then that's going to inform your price. So
sure.
The first thing is obviously the selling price. That's the first kind of sub point of this category. And all of those things that we just talked about, plus some of the things that we may talk about later, are going to inform that price, that selling price. But there's also other things that you should be considering when you're deciding on that price, right, Josiah?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Something like discounted pricing, sales. It's always a huge thing. Use discount code, whatever, for 20% off your purchase. Or if you're willing to do like a loss leader scenario where you're going to lose a little bit on the product that you're using to get them to your site or in the door, for lack of a better term, and knowing that there's going to be other products that will catch their attention that's also listed on that site. So there's lots of marketing things you can do with price, knowing that you might make a little less, but you'll also possibly either increase your volume or get other purchases added on to that one thing that people are buying, because hey, it's so inexpensive that I can also afford that mug, or I can also afford that hat, or whatever that looks like. And so that's another thing to keep in mind, because doing that is definitely a great marketing tool.
Yeah, and I would also say, make sure when you're pricing your selling price that you have enough margin that you can do discounts, you can do sales.
Sure.
Don't just go bottom dollar and then all of a sudden you have
lose money.
You have limited options at that point. So make sure you price your products at a place where you can run a sale occasionally and still not, go bankrupt.
I think after working I worked in retail sales for like 5 or 6 years. Back when I lived in Wyoming, and then getting involved in the e-commerce space only bolstered this opinion of mine. And it is that, previous to those years, Black Friday was really exciting because everything was so cheap and everything was so much on sale. And then when you're in the belly of the beast, for lack of a better term, you grow to understand that the reason these people can take such astronomically large percentages off of their product is because they've been marked up that astronomically large percentage in the first place. And really, every other day of the year, you're paying a lot of money for something that doesn't cost them that much. But Black Friday, they make you feel endeared and special because you can get all of this at 60% off. And you're thinking, how in the hell could they ever make money 60% off a flat screen TV? My friends, it's because they probably marked it up 80 in the first place. So they're probably still making 20%. Just some topical, opinions, since we're heading into that, season, which Black Friday now is just like happening. I was in the mall the other day. I went to Flatirons for the first time in forever. And people are like, Black Friday sale. And it's not even, it's like the second week of November. It's just ridiculous. Anyway. That's my thought about discounts, but that goes into the fact that Travis is saying, make sure that you have enough to compensate for, or enough margin to make sure that you can offer, maybe it's not 60% off or whatever, but that 25% off discount on the initial sale for them, just to get them, get their email. 25% off for them just for you to capture their email is huge, because then you can resell the other products that come through. Right. So it's just an investment in marketing. It's marketing budget. So another thing, Travis, is payment arrangements, which is like, how do you collect payment? Right. If it's Etsy, of course, Amazon, the payment portal part of things is typically taken care of on your behalf, because they check out through the platform. But if you have your own store, you can have Stripe, you can connect to PayPal, and PayPal is now also allowing Venmo account payments through that on websites as well. So how do you want to take payments? Understanding that some payment providers also take a small percentage of a
Right.
transaction, right?
Yep. Yeah, which obviously comes back to pricing. And there's
Yeah.
a new one. You might know this because your wife has done really well on Etsy, but is it Zezel or something like that that
Yeah.
people can
Hmm.
they can actually buy. I don't know much about it. I just remember seeing it, and it's something to where they can make payments on it, over
Hmm.
time. It's a new whole pay,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of different payment arrangements you can
It's
make
like
with your customers.
QVC comes to Etsy.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is. That's really funny. The other, and then so beyond that, kind of in that same vein, um, credit terms, like if you're working
Sure.
with,
Like
like for
local,
me,
right?
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, we're doing local stuff. I have a
Hmm.
lot of
Hmm.
clients that use us to fulfill, and then usually we run or we send invoices at the end of the month. So they have kind of that 30 days. If they sell something on the
Yeah.
first, they're really not paying for it. So that's a benefit for them for cash flow purposes. It's actually a
Sure.
detriment for us to be
Sure.
100% honest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but you need to think through that as well. And then of course you mentioned, Josiah, when we talked about price matching services, and we were like, well, how does that work, like on an Amazon or whatever with a print on demand?
Sure.
No one better have my design on another coffee mug or I'm gonna be pissed.
Presents a whole yeah, I'll price match, but I'm gonna be pissed because there's
Yeah,
something else there's a bigger issue here. So take the mug.
exactly.
I have some investigation to do.
Yeah, but if you have a different product or you're selling a service, uh, like you and I going to one print on demand supplier versus another print on demand,
Right.
there may be some price matching that you can do. Hey, I can get this coffee mug or this t-shirt or this hoodie fulfilled by this other company for this price, and what will you do?
Right.
And
Right.
and your answer may be go pound rocks, and that's fine.
Yeah,
But
sure.
we're just presenting the information so you can make
You
these
have to,
decisions.
yeah, yeah. You have to
Yeah,
know that that's going to happen when you're working with when you're providing a print on demand service for people. And you
yep,
can't fault them, right? I mean, that's what everyone's been taught to do is negotiate and leverage. And like Travis said, the right answer might be, hey, this ain't gonna work. Kick rocks. We'll see you later. Whatever. It kind of all depends on where you're at. I know, first starting out, you have this insatiable desire to never say no, and you're like, no, I'll
right.
take it. I'll match it because I need the business and I need you to come back and I need to get that loyalty built in. But again, it's like I think
It's not
it might
healthy in the
be
long run. It really isn't.
no, no, because I think and it was you or someone else I was talking to. I was like, what you do to get the customer in the door is what you will do to have to keep them there. So you
Mm,
kind of have to like understand the risk of like, well, hey, last time you matched that guy's price, and I've been with you for 3 years, and that whole 3 years you've been just hemorrhaging money on that specific account. So
yeah,
it is a balance, right? So the right answer might be no. Right answer might be yes. It just depends on where you're at in
right.
that time. And I think and Travis, you did talk about credit terms, which is
Mhm.
like you said, a benefit to your customer. Maybe not to you necessarily, because that leaves you holding the bag until they pay that invoice off in 30 days. You're still holding, which is really benevolent, I think, for POD providers to do that because they're
Yeah,
already holding all of the risk, right?
yeah,
You're
it's
already
true.
holding all of that inventory in that space container on your property that you ordered in bulk for Q4. And you're already on the hook for that. There's nothing that's going to allow you to get off of the hook for that, and then allowing your customers to have 30 days to pay it off is beneficial for them, and it is kind of also a customer service type thing. But we can get into that later, like a cool
Sure.
service you're providing. So we'll get into that later. Okay, so
Mhm.
moving on, we've done two P's. We've done PP. Now it's time for PPP. The third P is promotion. And the first
Mhm.
promotion point A is sponsorships. So Travis, you were talking to me a little bit about like we're going through this before we press recording. Like, well, that's like if you were to buy shirts or provide shirts for your kids' soccer team. So kind of explain how
Yeah.
sponsorships ties into that whole idea.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about promotion just in general, that's kind of what we think of when we think of marketing. We think, well,
Sure.
what are the different promotional ways we can do this stuff?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sponsorships would just be that. It'd be like literally um, using an opportunity to invest. Um, it's almost like it'd be like advertising, be like, sponsoring the printing of all of the menus at your local Mexican restaurant. So you can have,
Sure.
a little spot on the back of the Mexican restaurant, or, maybe they use
Yeah.
paper or whatever,
Yep.
placemats, and you have a little spot there and it says, make your mark design or what for apparel or whatever,
Right.
to market your particular service. And you have sponsored that company to get that thing done. Or like you
Yeah.
mentioned, could be sticking your logo on the back of their, their jersey. I mean, I'm a
Right.
huge Premier League soccer fan
Right.
in England, and every single one of those jerseys, if you look at any, jersey in the Premier League, they all have, big promotional things right there
Yeah.
in the middle of their jerseys. And that's basically sponsorship. So I think we all know what sponsorships are, but I
Yeah.
think the idea is to maybe, how can we use that? How can we use that particular P or sub
Yeah.
P to actually move our business forward,
Yeah.
in a good way?
Yeah, I think, and the sponsorships can kind of tie into the next one, which is advertising, because really
Mhm.
they can be very commingled, right? I think
Mm.
it was Chris, no, it wasn't Chris Green. Nick Eden in his episode
Mm.
was talking about the fact that he paired with his local pizza guy. He
Yeah,
gets pizza there all the time, and he did the flyers for the pizza boxes, or he
right.
did actual pizza boxes that he had his logo and a QR code to get a free shirt, free whatever,
Yeah.
that whole thing. So it's an interesting sponsorship. A lot of the times you do think NASCAR, you do think Premier League soccer, just logos plastered everywhere on everything.
Yeah.
But sponsorship and advertising are pretty closely related. Now, advertising in the sense of on one of the big platforms like Amazon and Etsy and Walmart
Mhm.
is a little bit different, because then you're trying to direct traffic to your listing
Trying to get your
through
clicks.
sponsored ads and keywords and that whole thing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so, go ahead.
I was just say one of the things that sparked this whole episode, and you mentioned it when we were talking about going into the main event earlier, was
Yeah,
an idea I got from Chris Grant. He sent me a thing. Do you have that
I
actually?
do.
That you can pull that up. So this is for those of you who are listening, this is a actual postcard that Chris got in the mail, and it's a picture of a hoodie, a t-shirt, a pint glass, and a hat. It says, and the text says, "It's a Grant thing you wouldn't understand," and it's a cute little graphic that they have, engraved on the pint glass, embroidered on the hat, and DTG printed on the hoodie and the t-shirt. And then it says, "Order early for Christmas, Wednesday, December 8th. All orders must be received by then." And then they have a link basically that you would type in, or they have a phone number on this.
Yeah,
But I thought, man, what an incredible idea, to get a list, a massive list of mailing addresses, which you can buy. You can find places that will sell you mailing addresses, and then just sort it by, some of the most popular last names. Grant is a
yeah,
very popular last name, Jones, Smith, or whatever, and just do an actual physical advertising blast,
yeah,
with snail mail. I mean, that's really amazing. You used to actually be able to do that on Facebook. You could actually target people based on their last names, but people obviously
no,
got
that's right.
freaked out, and
Yeah,
it doesn't work anymore. So this particular marketer that sent Chris this, is just going old school. He's basically doing the Facebook trick with
yeah,
old school,
snail mail.
techniques. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, and it's very unique. That's an idea that, I mean, whoever did that is probably going to have some success, because I've seen those shirts
Mhm.
everywhere, and I've seen people buy things with the last name on them. It's you're
Yeah.
proud of your last name, proud of your identity, your heritage, whatever. So, yeah, that makes total sense, and that is what kind of was the impetus behind us kind of going this direction for this week's main
Mhm.
event.
Right.
The next part of promotion is public relation activities. We talked about, what does that look like? Well, it means getting out in your community, being involved.
Mhm.
I think providing the shirts for your kids' soccer league just with your logo, sure, but being involved in that, being, charitable, church activities, chamber of commerce, city stuff, just getting your
Mhm.
name out there as someone that provides a service and is supporting your local business or your local community
Right.
goes a long way as well, and as far as promoting yourself.
Hmm. Yeah. And then I think the next one, I think you would think it's just kind of a basic idea, because the next point is just, what is your message? What is your message
Right.
that you're using to promote? But I think where we need a mind shift, if you will, is when we're thinking about our actual messaging, when we're actually giving out, we're creating our advertising copy, or
Yeah.
our pitch, or whatever it is, our website copy, the message that we use can't be about us. It has to be about the customer. And
Right.
there's Donald Miller does an incredible, he has a whole brand called Story Brand. And their
Yep.
whole thing is basically taking the messaging part of advertising, if you will, or marketing, if you will, and breaking it down into into a story, and where you're making the customer the hero of the
Right.
story, and
Right.
you are like a guide to the hero, bringing him through some type of decision, or horrible conflict or something. Well, oh my God, I
Yeah.
won't be able to wear a shirt, or whatever that conflict is. And then you are guiding him to find the answer to his or her
Yeah.
problem. So you're kind of like Yoda. Okay. But they're Luke
Yep.
Skywalker.
I was
You are
just
not
gonna
Luke
say that. Yeah.
Skywalker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have
Mhm.
to figure out the way to defeat Darth Vader, not
Right.
you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that is really, we should have Luke on to talk about Story Brand sometime, Josiah. That would be a lot of
Oh
fun.
yeah, that'd be great. Not Luke Skywalker though, by the way. It's a different Luke.
Different Luke. Different
Yes.
Luke.
It was just very, very seamless. Like,
That
we
was, yeah.
should call Luke. We have him in our back pocket. Uh, no, mutual friend of ours, Luke, who is actually certified in the Story Brand kind of
Yeah.
methodology of things, and it is very, very, again, Travis, like you said, seems very mundane, seems very simple, like, yeah, of course, but the way they go about it and unpack it is super, super uh, beneficial, and kind
Yeah.
of repackages, like you said, a paradigm
Right.
shift when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So then the last one on that is media. And
Mhm.
we talk, of course, there's social media, and there's stuff like
Mhm.
that. You can tell a compelling story on social media,
Mhm.
and you can paint that, especially if it's kind of cause driven, and
Mhm.
why this would be beneficial to a charity, because in that instance, or a good cause, and that the customer is the hero, because they are the ones that are going to be helping the people in need, or the charity, and it's going to help them kind of be the hero of that story.
Right.
But you mentioned, Travis, another aspect of media in the local aspect of things.
I did. I don't remember what I said.
No, okay,
I'm a
so
genius. I just have a bad
no,
memory
just
as a genius.
47 seconds and 47 minutes and 30 seconds. We're gonna just cut that out, and then we're gonna put it on the no, we had talked about, or you had talked about, the idea of getting local media, writing into your newspaper, writing into
Oh,
your
I am a
local
genius.
news, right? Yes. See, you just need a Yoda to guide you back to your genius. Mm, genius you are.
Why, thank you, Yoda. I mean, that's actually, I do remember talking about that. And I mean, it's very simple. When was the last time, you sent an email to your, somebody at your local newspaper and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
check this out. We just sponsored the local kids team. We're a print on demand company, and we just bought them all
Right.
shirts. And it's just
Right.
really cool, how we're so amazing and awesome and supporting this thing." I mean, that could turn into a story that then get you more business. So there's a lot to the media. It doesn't have to be, you're paying for, you know,
Sure.
tens of thousands of dollars worth of commercials and,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. It can literally be free. I mean, you have a news station, you have several news stations in your town
Yeah.
that are looking for feel good stories. Because we all know the news can just bring us all down. They're looking for feel good
Yeah.
stories too. And so, when you do one of these other things, you do a sponsorship or some type of public relation activity, take a minute and figure out who you could potentially pitch that to as something that they could use in their media locally that could increase your sales. So there you go. That's a
Yeah.
golden nugget that you reminded me of, Josiah. That's really good.
Yes. Yeah. So, moving on to the fourth P, place. Of course, locally, what does that look like? Are you setting up at markets? Do you have
Hmm.
a retail storefront, a brick and mortar store? Are you a traveling
Yep.
gig where you're going, to and fro, providing custom
Hmm.
t-shirts or shirts for sale? On the e-commerce side, is it Amazon? Is it Walmart? Is it Etsy?
Yeah.
Is it Wayfair? Is it all of the above? Where are you going to be selling your product? And because that will be an important decision as well. Once you've kind of decided the product, the place, and the promotion, we need to figure out a way or where you're going to point these people when you're promoting the
Hmm.
product for the price that you're wanting to sell it. And there you go, tie all the pieces together. So yeah, distribution channels, and then of course logistics. Travis, talk a little bit about logistics and what that might look like on both sides of e-commerce and the local side.
Yeah, I think logistics, for us, most of it's ShipStation. It's like
Yeah,
they buy it on Amazon or a Shopify store and we ship it to them via ShipStation. However,
sure,
there are, a lot of local clients that we work with. Do we need to ship that to them or do they just want to come by?
right,
That moves into like location. For us as a distributor, it doesn't matter as much where our location is.
right,
But at the same time, it does matter because I'm probably not going to sell a local job to somebody that lives, in Arkansas, because I'm in
sure,
Colorado and it doesn't
sure,
probably makes a lot of sense to do that. I mean, I'm not going to say no, but the shipping's probably going to be a lot more than it is if the
right,
guy can just come in and pick it up. So the location
right,
does matter when you're talking about local. The logistics do matter when you're talking about local compared to more of a distribution channel like an Amazon, like an Etsy, where it's just a website and an e-commerce type setting.
right,
And then the other thing that is in the place kind of category is service levels, and based on so for us, service levels are going to be like, well, if you sell this much, your pricing is going to be here. If you sell this
sure,
much, your pricing is going to be here. Again, that's going to mix into this whole 5 Ps and really determine some of the other things. Remember how I said it was a spider web? So
yeah,
if you have certain, obviously price is going to influence this, and like where and how much are you going to discount if they do get to the next level, and things like that. And then the last one, Josiah, is market coverage. You want to talk a little bit about that?
yeah. So market coverage also might help you determine like what is your desired market coverage. Are you good
Mhm.
with just the local market coverage? Are you trying to just kind of stake a claim and kind of be there and accrue market coverage locally in your town? Are you
Mhm.
wanting coverage widespread, which of course would then mean you're going to probably want to do an Etsy or an Amazon or Walmart or something like that to
Mhm.
help get your coverage, your product coverage out there to as many
Yeah.
people as possible. So that would probably inform that will also inform your location and the distribution channels that you're wanting
Yeah.
to utilize.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking market coverage or market share,
Sure.
when you are selling on these other distribution channels like an Amazon or a Walmart or an Etsy, they have huge market coverage. And so you're going
Yeah.
to pay for that. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the trade-off. You actually have to pay Amazon a referral fee for every
Yep.
sale because they
They're
have the
bringing
market coverage.
they're
You
bringing the
don't.
eyes to you. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So if
Yep.
you want to take, the time to actually do that, and it's probably a lot easier in your local communities than it is online.
Sure.
Although if, that's not always the case. You can hit lightning in a bottle, and you
Yeah.
may be really good at marketing, with Google and SEO and all that stuff. But those are the things that, that's the trade-off. You're going to either pay for that market share, coverage, or you're going to have to create it somehow yourself. And so again, that's part of that um, decision you have to make in the place P.
Yeah. Yep.
When you pee in the place, no, when the in the
Well, don't
place,
well, yeah,
uh,
pee in the
we
place,
should
but in the
stop.
designated pee place. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, I do.
don't
I
just
get
don't
it.
just arbitrarily pee in the place. There's a place for you to pee in the pee place.
Moving on to the fifth P.
Yeah, no, we've gone too far. So
We
we're
have.
going to wrap this thing up. We're going to rein it in a little bit as we approach an hour or close to an hour on this episode. So we're going to talk about the last P, which
Mhm.
is people, and talking specifically about you, or if you have a production team or employees. So service provided. What service are you providing? Is it t-shirts, custom t-shirts? Is it print on demand services,
Graphics. Yeah.
graphic design? Maybe you also provide a marketing service where you're kind of helping, whatever that might look like in the space that you're in. What's the service you're providing? And then, of course, your attitude goes a long
Mm.
way.
Yep.
And so I mean, these all kind of tie together. I think what we could do is just say, it's attitude, customer service, appearance, and employee portrayal, and we can kind of speak on all of that because it's very close,
Yeah.
closely tied
Yeah.
together. So Travis, the importance of attitude, customer service, appearance,
Mhm.
employee portrayal. Talk a little bit about that as we kind of land the P plane.
Yeah, that's good. I I think yeah, like you said, they all go together. Like appearance. What are you when you're actually talking to people? If you're not
Yeah.
selling on Amazon, who cares? You can do that in your pajamas. But if you're actually talking to people, how are you going to look? How are your employees going to look? Are you going to require
Sure.
them to wear a certain thing? If they're customer facing or whatever. And then how, in other words, how is that employee going to be portrayed by your end user? All of these things go to your brand, your overall brand, that you are this idea of who you are in the community, how all of that is,
Yeah.
all of these things, they all kind of go towards that, which
Yep.
will then affect your price, your
Yep.
perceived value by your clients. So
Yep.
think about those things as well as you are kind of figuring out this 5P puzzle, if you will. Oh, there's a
Yeah.
sixth P puzzle.
Nice.
Thank you.
Puzzle and plane with that's 7. Oh, the plane was 7. P plane. The P puzzle plane. You're welcome.
All right,
We've
let's land it. Let's land this
we've
P plane.
solved all of it. Good Lord. So yeah, as Travis said, and we've talked about customer service a lot on this show
Mhm.
and the importance of it, and how it can seriously set you apart. Because sometimes, if you're not willing to price match, and you maybe can't hit that same price, but you provide phenomenal customer service, and your employees and their portrayal, how they come across, and their attitude, all of that stuff. If it is top notch, people will stick with you and pay that extra dollar or two because they're getting something that they don't know if they'll get at the other place. They'll get a cheaper
Right.
price, but they don't know if they'll be taken care of the same way. So
Exactly.
it's very, very important. And as Travis said, we're going to share the link to this little slide we have for the 5 P's of marketing, the marketing mix. And so if you guys have any questions, you know where to go. You know what to do. If you know another P that we perhaps forgot, you can let us know at printondemandcast.com/Facebook and join the conversation. We want to know, have you learned of this before? Do you have insight on some of these that maybe we missed, or maybe we
Mhm.
didn't, talk about what you learned when you were learning the 5 Ps? Please contribute to the conversation.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of posts in there lately where group members are kind of just helping each other out, and Travis and I aren't necessarily even really providing any information, but you guys are helping each other, which is the whole goal of that Facebook group. So we encourage you guys to be active. And we also encourage you to be like our dear friend, Tim Helm, who is undoubtedly listening, and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes if you happen to be listening on the podcast app on iTunes. If you're not listening on the podcast app, it's okay, because wherever podcasts are, the PODcast is there for you as well. Also, if social media isn't your bag, if it's not your thing, you don't enjoy it, totally understand, and I do not blame you. So you can also email us, info@printondemandcast.com, and Travis and I would love to hear from you there as well. Travis, anything else before we wrap this thing up?
I don't think so. Thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Yes, thank you guys so much for listening. We're excited to be back with you again next week. But until then, for Travis, I'm Josiah, and we'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe, thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.